What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court. I am Sean Murphy, and today we are here to talk about the NBA Finals because they are over. The Golden State Warriors are the NBA champions once again after missing the NBA Finals for 3 straight years. In fact, missing the playoffs entirely. They get back and make it all the way NBA championship, winning in 6 games in the city of Boston. Only the second team to ever clinch a championship in the Garden or in the city of Boston, other than Los Angeles Lakers back when it was done by Magic Johnson and those guys. Now, before we get talking about the NBA championship, this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Be sure to use code HALFCOURT down in the description to get 20% off plus free shipping on awesome products such as the lawnmower 4.0 or the weed whacker or all of their awesome hygiene products. We are grateful to be sponsored by Manscaped and thankful for everything they do. The best post players in the game. Anyway, the Golden State Warriors ruled this series. And it was something that was kind of from the beginning. And I really thought that Boston's physicality and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were just going to overwhelm the Golden State Warriors. I thought the perimeter defense that the Warriors had, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't respect Andrew Wiggins enough as a defender because, man, that guy played lockdown defense for 6 games. It made Jason Tatum look irrelevant at points. And that's my number one takeaway from tonight. Jason Tatum shied away in this game. In the second half, he wanted nothing to do with the moment. When Andrew Wiggins was guarding him, it was a wrap. It was the last place in the world he wanted to be. And listen, man, like I am a big fan of Jason Tatum. I have been a adamant supporter of his. But this was an ugly performance. I mean, I understand he does a lot for this team on the defensive end, passing the ball. He really did everything that he could, but 13 points, 6 of 18 from the field in a closeout game when your backs are against the wall when you're at home. Jaylen Brown has been the better player for this team the entire series. He was the one that stepped up. He's the alpha of these two. And I think that's honestly the narrative that we kind of need to start accepting because it looks like Jason Tatum just might not be that guy. I mean, they're still super young. I expect that they can get back to this spot. But I was just disappointed with what I saw from the Boston Celtics. And I know a lot of it was because they're young. I know a lot of it is because it's Ime Udoka versus Steve Kerr, which, by the way, we got to talk about Steve Kerr, man. One of the greatest coaches in the history of the game is well deserving of being on that list of the 15 greatest coaches in the history of the game. And the guy just absolutely dominated this series from an adjustment standpoint. I mean, from game 4 on, this series was over. Once Steph and the Warriors just took over, once Wiggins just played lockdown defense, and that was the thing. They consistently brought it on the defensive end. And for all this talk about Boston being great defensively, it was the Warriors that ruled this series and they set the tempo on the defensive end. Now, obviously, they came down to the offensive end and there were incredible shots hit by Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, all across the board, quite frankly. And Draymond Green, for all the talk, for everything that he did, had a remarkable game tonight. And so when looking at the performance overall, which by the way, Jason Tatum 1 of 8 in the second half. That's just some bonkers statistics in game 6 in the finals. That's just not going to cut it. And that was the difference in this series. The Warriors were the more experienced team. The Warriors were the more prepared team. The Warriors were the better team. And they played with pace, they played with consistency, they played with fire. They played to kill when it came to how they attacked on the offensive end. And the Boston Celtics felt like every single game was them just fighting to compete and stay in the game. They didn't set the tempo. They didn't set anything. I mean, there were points where their physicality ruled this series, and it was a genuine problem for the Warriors. But the difference is the Warriors adjusted. They overcame adversity. They made adjustments and changes in between games, and now we see the Golden State Warriors as champions. I mean, I mean, tonight, one thing they did in particular, they really abused Robert Williams in drop coverage, specifically whenever they would do soft switches on Curry. And there were just a lot of different things where Robert Williams was just being picked apart because he was playing on one wheel. So they set up a lot of situations where Robert Williams would have to guard guys on the perimeter. And they made him pay. Otto Porter Jr., Draymond Green, just to name a few guys. I remember specifically a situation where it was Grant Williams guarding Draymond Green up towards the top. And he was shaking his head. He was shaking his head. He was like, "Nope, get away from me, get away from me." And then they switch Robert Williams, and he goes, "Mm-hmm." And he takes the ball and he holds it, and the shot clock's winding down, and he pulls up and hits it on Robert Williams up to the top of the key. When Draymond Green is able to do something like that, I mean, it's because Robert Williams is doing everything he can. The crazy thing, he's playing on one wheel and he still gets 5 blocks. He's not the problem, man. And so, Ime Udoka did everything he could for this team as well. The Boston Celtics are going to be perfectly fine. They're a team that's going to be in this situation for years to come. The Eastern Conference is going to be really hard next year, so it's not a guarantee. However, if they keep this team together, if they keep at it, if they're that same defensive force, and if they just make some improvements, and if Jason Tatum takes over and is that guy that we saw in Milwaukee in game 6, the guy that we know that could be there. You want to talk about Mamba mentality, dude? And it's when a guy brings up Mamba mentality as much as he does, a guy who loves Kobe as much as he does. It's when you know that they're shying away from that aspect of them that makes them great. And I want to see Jason Tatum overcome that, and I want to see him fully embrace that Mamba mentality that Kobe has urged him to have for years, that he has insisted to strive for years. I just want to see more of that from Jason Tatum. But let's talk about the Warriors, and let's talk about what this means for them. Because first of all, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, they just did the Spurs dynasty, the 4 titles between Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony. I mean, obviously all those guys like winning all those championships they did in San Antonio. Now pretty much very, very reminiscent to the Spurs dynasty in Golden State. The difference is this one is just more explosive on the offensive end. And now for them to be able to do it in the fashion that they did, where the core of the Warriors was ultimately what carried them over the top, but to bring these guys alongside them, these young players like Jordan Poole, like Gary Payton Jr., like Andrew Wiggins, like all these different guys who have had different experiences or one way or another have had different perceptions of them throughout their careers, guys who have gotten cut, guys who haven't gotten fair opportunities, and they're given the opportunity to thrive in the Golden State system. And Steph Curry now winning the Finals MVP, having another amazing performance, dominating the entire series, being the best player throughout these entire playoffs, and now is a 4-time NBA champion. Now is a Finals MVP, 2-time NBA MVP, only unanimous MVP in the history of the league. Steph Curry is now in the conversation for the greatest point guard of all time. And the conversations between him and Magic Johnson. I love Isaiah Thomas to death, but tonight Steph Curry surpassed Isaiah Thomas on the all-time point guard list. It is now between Magic Johnson and Steph Curry. And you could make a legitimate argument for Steph being number 1. I'm not ready to make that argument yet because Magic Johnson is literally in my Twitter profile photo. I have met him when I was younger. I have watched a lot of his greatness, and I have seen and read and done a lot of digging, and I know how great Magic is. But man, watching Steph Curry in real action, in real life, in real time, the things that he can do, pulling up from literally anywhere on the court, but also his ability to drive to the basket, his playmaking, his selfless defensive plays. The guy was all over the court, and he was giving Jason Tatum issues on the defensive end. He was being physical. He was doing everything that he needed to do to get this team a championship. And he was the best player on a championship team again. And we always talk about, oh, well, this guy isn't the best player on the Warriors team. Kevin Durant just carried them to a couple titles. Can we stop discounting this guy's greatness? Greatest shooter in history of the league, 4-time champion, and now finals MVP. We can put that argument to rest. Steph Curry puts himself among the greatest players of all time. I think you can make an argument he's going to be top 10 here real soon. The things that he's doing, it's incredible. So, incredible season for the Golden State Warriors. Going forward, you wonder what they can do to keep this core together. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is a free agent. It seems like he's really happy to be in Golden State, but he's also going to get paid this summer wherever he gets paid. But it's going to be interesting to see. Now we have the NBA draft coming up next week, and that's the beauty of the NBA season is once the season ends, a brand new season is right around the corner. And so now the Warriors are going to be tasked to defend this title, and they have guys like Jonathan Kuminga in their system. They have guys like James Wiseman, who never even played for them this entire season, and this team still goes out and wins a NBA championship. That's unbelievable. But the question I have for you is, what do you think of the Golden State Warriors? Do you think that Steph Curry is the greatest point guard in the history of this league? And who do you think we'll be talking about as NBA champions this time next year? Do you think my Detroit Pistons will ever have a chance of being there? Please, God. But anyway, please hit that subscribe button. Please sure to be a member of From Half Court, just like guys like Dominique Davis, Wade Balut, Justin Jones. And also be sure to use our subscribers Manscaped. Manscaped is an amazing men's hygiene company with amazing products like the Lawnmower 4.0. Talk about great post players getting down in the paint in the restricted area. There is nobody better than Manscaped with cutting edge technology that prevents nicks and is a great product like Manscaped. They were generous enough to give us a lot of products to sample and to use for our own, and I can tell you that it is absolutely the real deal. You can use a discount code right down below by going to manscaped.com and using code HALFCOURT at checkout. It will get you 20% off plus free shipping. Please be sure to use that in the link in the description below. Again, that is at manscaped.com. Code HALFCOURT for 20% plus free shipping.